Enjoy early access to ad-free episodes each week when you subscribe to Wedding Planning Podcast Premium in Apple Podcasts. Enjoy the show. Let's get you set up with a starter's guide to the things that you can potentially cut out from your wedding plans altogether, saving yourself loads of time, additional research, added stress, and of course, we're gonna save all that money too. First up for today's conversation are guest favors. This wins the number one honor spot because in listener polls that I've run on Instagram, it's oftentimes in the top 3 things that you are going to say bye-bye to off your standard generic wedding checklist. Will your guests be heartbroken if they don't go home with a custom beer koozie? If you do not share with them a rubber bracelet that has your names and your wedding date printed on it? Or if you do not present them with a fancy miniature pot of honey on their place setting? No, they will not be heartbroken. If wedding favors is an item that you're up in the air about, I would say do yourself a favor. No pun intended, sorry about that. Save the money and just skip this element altogether. I have a really, really close friend whose future sister-in-law was absolutely horrified that she wasn't going to include wedding favors. She thought it was exceptionally rude not to have a favor at your wedding. And my friend crumbled to her future sister-in-law, and she ordered $5, not real silver, but silver-plated, made wholesale overseas. Anyway, $5 silver-colored dolphin bottle poppers for each guest. She spent $500. Super cute. It was a fun touch. And don't get me wrong, if dolphin bottle openers are on your priority list, I'm not here to judge that. Only simply to suggest and encourage that if they are not important to you, such as the case with my very close friend, then that $500 can be put to lots of other uses. Okay, moving on to our next item for today, I would like to suggest that you skip pouring champagne for a toast. Now, I will be the first to admit that I enjoy cocktails. I love happy hour, love my cocktails, love my wine with dinner. But when I'm midway through the night and a couple of margaritas in and I'm looking to enjoy a glass of wine with my meal, the last thing on earth I need is a glass of champagne to bridge that connection. Is the champagne toast a tradition? Yes. Is it fun and fancy and celebratory to drink a glass of champagne? Yes. Is it gonna add a couple $100 to your bottom line? Yes. Now, depending on the pour, you can look to get about 6 to 8 glasses of champagne per bottle. And then if you figure $12 for a cheap bottle of champagne, with those numbers, you're looking at $150 for about 100 adult guests. And that's not to mention a whole lot of scramble and additional work for your wait staff and potentially 100 specialty glasses added to your rental bill. Now, can this all be scaled back if it is important to you? Absolutely. And if it's really important to you, then splurge and get $25 bottles of champagne by all means. $5 champagne exists. So do cute little disposable plastic cups. But just remember, you can make a toast with anything, including the drinks that your guests are already working on. So do not feel like an added champagne toast is an item that needs to get included in your catering bill. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how much money you can save by just skipping that part. Now, the next thing that I would love to have you consider skipping isn't really the right word because I think most of us are going to include these items, but maybe finding alternatives is a better wording for this section. And that would be concerning expensive impulse items such as accessories, shoes, shapewear, veils, and jewelry from the bridal salon where you're buying your dress. Bridal salons are infamous for marking up all these little extras, and you can save hundreds of dollars by shopping for this stuff somewhere else. I can almost guarantee you that if you visit a large dress retailer, your salesperson is going to put a sparkly and adorable tiara or veil on your head when you come out in your dress, and you're going to fall in love. But you might not be in love with the $125 price tag for a small minor accessory that we can find for much, much less. Accessories and bridal wedding day jewelry, this can often be family pieces that are borrowed from your loved ones. And if that's not an option, you can always shop for beautiful costume jewelry at your favorite department store, or you can wear jewelry you already own. As far as shoes go, you can find shoes, cute shoes at any of your favorite stores where you normally shop. It doesn't need to be a wedding store in order to buy a really beautiful, comfortable pair of shoes that look great with your wedding dress. Bridesmaids shoes as well. You can get any of this stuff. Nordstrom Rack is a great option, DSW, or any other type of shoe warehouse in your area. Look online, look on Amazon. There's plenty of beautiful stuff out there that can be had for a really, really good deal. And then next in this category, there are a lot of things here, so bear with me. Next up, let's touch on shapewear. So like a corset or a strapless bra or any type of undergarments that you're going to be wearing under your dress. Again, I would recommend trying your favorite department store and then stores like Kohl's, Target, maybe even Walmart. Shop around because it's out there, and trust me, it is much less expensive than it's going to be at that bridal store. And then next up, items like veils, tiaras, hair clips. I love shopping for these types of items on a website like Etsy, where not only are you supporting a small business, you're also likely going to get much higher quality at a much lower price tag. Okay, and last thing here in this accessories category, if you're open to gently used products, I would try a search on eBay, Craigslist, or a bridal marketplace. And I'll link to a few of those options in today's show notes and also in this week's email recap, that I'll send out to you. Obviously, we're probably not going to be looking for used shapewear and undergarments, but accessories and things like veils, tiaras, or even shoes that have been worn once by another bride or another groom, that's a no-brainer. Now, let's move on from accessories and let's talk about a wedding gift for your new spouse. I would suggest skipping it, personally. I know not everyone feels that way, but here's a little bit of background on why I say that. You are getting married. You're hosting an event for 150 of your closest loved ones. You're probably going on a honeymoon. You're ordering wedding albums and photos afterwards. All that stuff, all of these things that we're planning and your marriage to one another, that is the wedding gift. Now, I know this might be a tradition that you do not want to let go of, but I get asked all the time about gift ideas for your new spouse because people are totally stumped on this. And in my opinion, this is just a completely unnecessary extra added thing. If you want to put it this way, think of your wedding rings as the gift to one another, and then skip all the other material stuff like an engraved watch, a personalized set of cufflinks, additional expensive jewelry. Coming up after a quick break, I have 4 more things that you may want to consider scrapping from your wedding plans in the name of saving yourself some time, some stress, and of course, some money. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, my friend, welcome back to the second half of the show. To recap really quickly, we have talked about potentially skipping favors, a poured champagne toast, expensive accessories, shoes, shapewear, veils, jewelry, etc., And we talked about omitting the gift for your new spouse. And picking up where we left off, let's continue today's conversation and talk about skipping professional hair and makeup for your wedding day. I come to this specific topic as someone who is very, very casual, very laid back. I do not wear makeup hardly ever. I don't fix my hair hardly ever. And granted, some of that is a function of working from home and not reporting to an office setting, et cetera, et cetera. But even when I did do that in a past life, I am just not one to wear a ton of makeup and do my hair regularly. Very casual. So with that said, I know that we all have different styles, different personal styles. Maybe you are someone who does your makeup every day and does your hair every day. And on the wedding day, you want to ramp it up and really, really look just show-stopping, all the makeup, all the beautiful hair. That's great. That's totally fine. Regardless of where you fall on the casual to made up spectrum, we also have different comfort levels with doing our own hair, our own makeup, and this is going to come into play here. So you may be someone who is totally set on professional hair and makeup for you and your bridesmaids, your whole bridal party. That's totally fine. If you are comfortable doing your own hair, if you're comfortable doing your own makeup, if you want to look like your natural self on the wedding day, then I would say doing your own hair and makeup is a total win. And even if you are not 150% comfortable doing it yourself, I would be willing to bet that you have a sister, a cousin, a friend, person in your wedding party, someone who is very skilled at doing that and can do it for you. I just don't want you to feel like you have to have professional hair and makeup done for your wedding day if that's not something that feels like you need. If we do our own, depending on where you are, depending on the pricing in your area, we can be looking at saving, let's call it $200 per person from having that professional visit you on the wedding day and doing it for you. Okay, moving on to the next one, skip it. Additional desserts and or late night snacks. If you're having a beautiful, pricey wedding cake, please do not feel pressured to replicate those elaborate dessert bar spreads to go alongside of your beautiful cake. I hear from a lot of you who don't really care for cake, but you feel like you have to have a wedding cake, but since you don't really like it, you end up doing a wedding cake. And then you also decide to do a donut bar, a dessert bar of sweets made by your family and your friends, a pie, and a candy bar. In the name of simplicity and scaling things back, I say pick one thing and you're all set. If you don't like cake, then skip the cake and just do a donut bar, or just have 3 of your favorite kinds of pie, or have a candy bar. If you don't like sweets at all, but you want to provide something to your guests, just keep it really simple. And if someone doesn't like the cake or the pie or the donuts that you choose, that's fine. Don't feel like you need to provide 6 other options. And then as for those late night snacks that come out at weddings, this could be your favorite fast food, bar food, basically a second round of late night dinner. This is fun if you have an unlimited budget and if you're serving a lighter meal and if your dance party is lasting until 2 a.m., but it's totally optional. And it's honestly a good item to consider just leaving off your catering bill and saving that extra money. No one is going to wake up the next morning feeling like they really missed out on the whole evening because there weren't any chicken nuggets served at 1 o'clock in the morning. Everyone will be fine. And then staying on the topic of food, but we're going to back it way up to the beginning of the night. Let's talk about appetizers. And I don't necessarily want to talk about skipping them because if you're hosting an afternoon into an evening event, I think happy hour and cocktails and appetizers they're all core components of that. But I would like to suggest that instead of a super elaborate, fancy set of appetizers, we can scale this way back and make it much more affordable. I'm going to go ahead and say $10 per person for an appetizer spread from a traditional wedding caterer is probably about average. And that price tag gives you a $1,000 line item for your 100-person wedding. And I can guarantee you that with very minimal time and effort, we can put together an appetizer spread that will rival any wedding caterer's carrot and celery tray. I am so passionate about this project that yes, I have an entire episode of the Wedding Planning Podcast that is dedicated to making your own appetizer spreads. And then our last item for today that I would suggest you skip or scale back on and find alternatives is ceremony decor. So these are things such as additional flower arrangements, hurricane jars with candles down the aisle, an aisle runner, an archway, flower petal scatter. I would really, really recommend that you repurpose any decor that's being used at your reception and use it twice at your ceremony and at your reception. If it's an option to take some of the floral arrangements that are being set up at the reception and to have those transported back and forth, that might make sense, although be careful because there are often quite a big transportation fee to move those around by a florist. So check it out, just something to look into. I would like to suggest backing up even before that. If you're in the early stages of looking for a venue and looking for a ceremony site, if you can choose a very naturally beautiful venue that doesn't need any extra decoration, then that is the best option, hands down. Decorating a wedding is not cheap. And when you're decorating a reception site and you're faced with decorating a ceremony site as well, I would always choose to throw the resources and the money at the reception site because at the ceremony, please trust me, all the focus is going to be on you. And your guests are probably not going to miss any elaborate archways, flowers, flying flower petals, or any of those extras that can add up so quickly. And if you are looking for just a little bit extra at that ceremony site, all of that decor, this is again stuff that would be fabulous to buy off Craigslist from a local couple who's selling their own wedding decor that they've already used. For huge savings on any decor, whether it's for your ceremony or your reception, you can also try shopping a local wholesale floral shop where prices are always very reasonable. And the bonus to that, if you are buying the wholesale decor yourself, then you can be the one to resell it to another couple after the wedding. And this can be a great way for you to recover some, most, or maybe even all of your out-of-pocket costs for those items. Okay, and now we reach the fun part where I'm going to recap everything that we went over today. I assigned a price tag to it, and that, my friend, is how we're going to come up with that number that I opened up the show with. So here's my list. Skipping the favors, remember the $5 bottle openers that I talked about? That is going to be a $500 price tag for a 100-person wedding. Skipping a champagne toast, $150. Shopping for all those extra accessories, shapewear, shoes at retailers other than a big box bridal store, you're looking at savings of anywhere from $300 to $500. If you decide to forego wedding gifts for your partner, call it $500. Skipping professional hair and makeup, I'll call that $200 just for you, not for the whole bridal party. By skipping all the extra desserts and late night snacks, let's call that $300 to $500. Doing your own appetizers and leaving the caterer out of that part, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 easily. And then our last item was all of the extra ceremony decorations, the archways, the aisle runner, the flower petals. I'm going to call that $500, although that could be much higher very easily. So our grand total, if you chose to do all of those things, $3,650. And that, my friend, is a lot of money. And we ran through 8 pretty minor things in the course of 20 minutes or so. Really easy, really simple ways to save are everywhere. And I hope you loved today's show. I hope you got inspired by some things to either cut out entirely or maybe scale way back on. And if you'd like to share those with me, you're always welcome to be in touch with the show. weddingplanningpodcast.co/contact. If you're loving the Wedding Planning Podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen, and be sure to follow for a brand new episode each Wednesday. Thank you again so much for spending this time with me here today, and we'll meet again next week, same time, same place.